What's going on, fellow humans and resellers? It is I, James, the American dream of reselling. ReadOptionAgency.com, 21 years selling on eBay. All right, so this week I'm going to try something different. Within the shipping videos, I want to have a topic of conversation. And then, of course, you know, my head, my mouth, you never know where it'll lead to after that. So, this video, hoarding, reselling business. What are the differences and why can't people see the differences? So, boom, we're going to get into that. But first, we're going to get into the numbers and the issues on the eBay site this weekend because there were plenty of them. This weekend, the eBay site was just trashed again. Once again, we are trashed. And Saturday was a huge letdown. Huge letdown. So Friday was, I believe I had some, I said it in the videos, I think, so you can go back to check. I don't remember right offhand Friday, but I only made it barely over $700 Friday. Saturday was even worse. $600 on a Saturday. But Saturday was filled with errors, site issues. I kept getting sister errors trying to upload items, pictures vanishing, all that same old stuff that we've been complaining about for months and months. Reared its ugly head Saturday and just totally trashed the day for me. Yesterday, made it up to a little over $800, but not without issues. The issues yesterday had 3 customers complaining that an offer was showing full price again. So that problem is still out there. Also, it seems there is a problem with sending offers. So I think that whole offer world is jacked up. As of right now, we're at 9:21 a.m. Monday morning. I have not received an offer since 11:24 last night. So we're going, what, 10 hours? 10 hours without an offer. They were coming through on the Australia site, because I got 2 on the Australia site. US site, dead silence. So that was different. Also, the search. Trying to search Roadway vintage trucker hat, and it kept changing it to Broadway vintage. I'm like, come on. And there's plenty of Roadway. It was and or is, I don't think they're still around, a trucking company that hauls cargo. My dad used to wear a Roadway trucker hat when I grew up because he was a truck driver. That was one of the hats he wore when I was a kid. So, yeah, so search was definitely off yesterday, as well as the offers are still in shambles. But the offers, I think we're going on about 4 or 5 days now where I've seen issues with offers. So offers is a great mess still. So we'll see where it ends up today. It's not looking too promising. We're going on 9:30. At 10 o'clock, I like to be 150 to 250. We're at 105. So, wah on the overnight sales. There was a block of nothing coming through, and an even longer block of no offers coming through. So, that being said, as far as listings, Saturday I got 260 items listed. Yesterday I got 172 items, I believe it was, listed. But since the site was messed up, my sales are just down. Only 42 items on Saturday. That's how bad it was. 8 organic, 34 promoted. When my organic's that low, that's a huge tall tale sign that something is amiss. Yesterday, closer to the 50-50, we were at 25 organic, 29 promoted, total of 54. Still a low number. For what I like to do, I like to be 65 plus. So, I didn't seem to get that instant sales stuff when I listed items. I think I had maybe one each day let's just say 2 one of the days. That sold kind of instantly. But for the amount of items I put up, very lacking. I put up a lot less of the same style of material items I list and got more. So definitely not the ideal weekend. So we're going to get into what sold. And we're going to get into our topic, shall we? Since you hear it a lot on there, I've even talked about it briefly in the past. The difference between hoarding, reselling, and a resale business. So, let's get started, shall we? First up, I've got a Jan item she found over at the bins. I think it was in one of her videos, Grand Ole Opry. Picture book, basically. Story, well, there's stories in it too. Picture history book, that's what it's called. This sold for $6.30. Headed to Choco Whitney, North Carolina. So, boom. Okay. So, as I'm sure many of you have been called a hoarder because of your quote-unquote death piles. And I've had a fair amount of people always coming after me over the years. 163. What is hoarding? Hoarding is when you have an emotional attachment to collecting stuff. Not just collecting stuff, but collecting garbage. Just not throwing anything out, not getting rid of anything. That's hoarding. Hoarding is kind of a form of mental illness, if you will, because you're emotionally attached to something and not in a healthy way. Because if everybody who's watched the shows, hoarding, I mean, everything from plastic bags to old food containers. You know, it's not just material items, it's literally trash. But people, there's such a... ignorance is a projected, spotlighted thing on social media these days, because there are people with info and knowledge who either A, try to help others, or B, try to monetarily benefit from that knowledge. And then there's C, the people who respond, the keyboard warriors who lack the intelligence or the big picture, lack of information, etc., who love to think that what they say is the gospel when they lack very little information on the subject. CLC blouse. It's been in the store 2.5 years, so I took an offer for $5 on it just to get it out. Headed to Davie, Florida. So to me, that's hoarding. Hoarding is an unhealthy emotional attachment to things, period. No rhyme or reason to the items. Like myself, there's only 2 things in my life I will never get rid of, material-wise. Everything else is free game. You got money, I got items. My 2 things are one of my very first Christmas gifts when I was like 10 months old, or 8 months old. And that is a Snoopy bank I still have. It has $22.28 written on the back of the bank because that's how much money was saved in it, I guess, before I spent it when I was old enough to spend money. That my parents would put their pennies in it for me. So that, and a plush Curious George that at the time my brother's girlfriend that he ended up marrying, he might have been married at the time too, I'm not sure, I don't remember. I was young. gave me a Curious George plush. I was probably 7, 8, somewhere in there. I slept with that thing every night. When I went into the hospital to get I had busted eardrums and had my tonsils and adenoids taken out. It came with me. And he even still has a wristband, the hospital wristband on it says James Helferstay's little friend. So those are two things in my life that will never go away from me. Anything else? It's pretty much fair game. Even the stuff that people have bought me over the years since then, I don't have. I mean, there's things I like that I display because of that. But I'm not emotionally attached to them in a deep way. I should be probably, but for some reason I'm not. I was always one of my, which is weird. I'm a very emotional person, but yet I'm not very emotionally attached to things. And what's weird is like not even, I know this might sound bad, but I guess I am. I just maybe don't process. I was going to say, I'm not really attached to people, but I guess I am. I just kind of bury it. I think that's what it is. I think I'm good at burying the emotional attachment to people after the grieving time or the period of time, right? I can start, I'm very, I guess I can like compartment, here we go with those words again. Compartmentalize it and then start breaking it down. Like my mom's been gone since 2009, but since then I've been able to, I started reselling because of my mom. I started being able to break down how I got to where I am, got to who I am. So I can pull the negatives that she had and the positives and kind of understand myself a little bit better. So I'm very good at that. And with like people I've dated over the years and it didn't work out, I can do the same with that and break it down. Okay, what went wrong? What did I do wrong? What was my problems? Where was my head at the time? I can break it. So I'm very good at doing that. So I guess I can't really say that I'm not emotionally attached to people. I just have a different way of dealing with it, I guess, than with things. If that makes sense, I guess. I'm analyzing myself all the time, so sorry about that. Sorry about going off the rails right there. But anyway, everything else I do not have an emotional attachment to. It can go, and that's the one thing that's kind of, I think, misrepresented. Well, there are some people who are more attached to things. Like if you go out and you thrift and you find something that you like, some people will add it to their collection. And collections are not necessarily hoardings. It's a look back on your life. Plus, it's also an investment. Why did I sell certain things when I bought out stores, but then throw the rest in storage, right? So there's sometimes there's method to the madness. Sometimes it's just an emotional happiness. Now, whether you're totally attached to those items or not, I don't consider that hoarding because more than likely you'd get rid of it if need be. If you had to. If you were scrounging for money, like my 800 shoe collection. When I needed to, it was gone. I needed the money, time to move on, rebuild, reassess, and move on. So I think most of us as resellers have that in our DNA, if you will, where if we have to, we'll even get rid of some of our favorite things to move forward or to make ends meet or what have you. So that's why I don't feel hoarding is related to reselling in any way. Because hoarders don't resell. They keep. Next up, we've got Rolling Stones throwback cover. Sold for $377. Headed to Sturgis, South Dakota. Going to fit in here. I am processing the word hoarding now, seeing if I got anything else to add to that before we move on to the next subject. Next up, we've got this. This is an item that Jan found at the bins. And here's another thing that can be kind of misrepresented, taken in the wrong way as a reseller / are you a hoarder? This item, leg guard. It's like a self-making wearable leg guard, self-fitting, kind of molds to your leg. Janet got this. I threw it on the shelf and didn't mess with it. I opened it and looked in it, and then for some reason I told myself it should have two. And I threw it on the shelf and I go, I'll deal with it later. Plus it's an odd size item, even though it's pretty simple. But I'm throwing an odd size item in there because sometimes as a reseller, you can throw things that are odd sized or might be difficult to ship or difficult to take pictures of or you don't know enough about. So you throw it aside and it starts to pile up. That could be taken wrong. As a reseller, it's like, I'll deal with it later. I got quicker things to move on to, other things to move on to. So I did finally list this, and it sold pretty quick, and sold for $45, headed to Peck, Michigan. But this was a kind of an example of something I just threw aside. It piled up in a cube because I didn't, for one reason or another, deal with it at the moment at that time I received it. So that could be taken wrong. Let's do this. Just throw it in this box maybe. Just cut it down to make it easy. Where it's going, Michigan, so it ain't going that far. So yeah. Didn't cut properly. I probably had a better box in there for this, but oh well. Oh well, it will do. It will do just fine. Just fine, Isaiah. Isaiah. It will do just fine. Isaiah. It will do just fine. Isaiah. Alright, gotta cover up this barcode. So the next subject is one of my favorites to talk about. Because I believe there is a distinct difference, but yet most people do not see it. And one of the reasons is, I think, what do you keep falling for? Is the difference is, I think, comes with experience and finances. capital, if you will. Now look, when you watch my videos, you know I'm not the smartest. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to what society expects people to be. In the terms of a lawyer or a doctor, hell, probably even a plumber in my case, right? I mean, there's knowledge, different types of smarts in this world. But yet, a lot of it is limited on what society has brainwashed people into thinking. Like Jan is 100% book smart, where I lack, and I am 100% street smart, where she hasn't got a clue. So there's many different levels, and that's, why are you over so far? There's many different levels, and the beauty about, I'm just going to say this, the beauty about the country we live in, America, because I think America, from what I've seen in my lifetime, from traveling within America, watching history shows, and just all the information I've gathered. How about that? In every different form or way you can gather information. America feels like, and I won't say the only country, but the best country to succeed on different smarts, different knowledges, different informations. Sure, UK has resellers, right? And other and many countries do. So I'm not saying the only. Diversity. America is the best diverse spot on earth. That's why so many people come here and want to come here. To succeed, because you can succeed with so many different levels of intelligence. I mean, I think I've never been patriotic, right? I've never been one to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, because I felt like that was more of a cult thing. And I got in trouble as a 5th grader because I would not stand for Pledge of Allegiance. And it's not because I wasn't happy to be in this country. I felt it was a control. It felt controlled. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United. I ain't pledging to nobody. All right, that flag can turn on me in a day. You know, that flag to me at that time represented the governments and stuff like that. And that was at the time, too, where I was learning my roots, Native American, and history of Native Americans. So that took a play into it also. So it was more like an adolescent time period in my life of learning, knowledge, growing. 16 by 12 by 2. 16 by 12 by 2. Thing I updated while I was doing that. Make sure I got the right name. Okay. But because of always learning and loving history, and sure, I may not have stood for Pledge of Allegiance because of the way it made me feel, and it didn't feel right, I always knew that I didn't really want to go live in any other country from what I had learned about other countries, right? So it wasn't necessarily that. So that's why I kind of say, well, I could really go off the rails on these, don't I? Kind of why I say there's so much diversity here and so many levels of knowledge that can help one succeed greater than they could really even imagine. Especially nowadays with social media, you can be a total ignorant fool and be raking in money because people are watching you being a total ignorant fool. So it's easier to be an idiot and make a lot of money in this country, it seems like, in the past 5 years than it is to have at least a middle ground of knowledge, like a lot of us resellers, and make that kind of money. Our Gogi resistant pants, they're kind of a weird pants. But they sold for $30, headed to Wayne, Michigan. So reselling is one of those things where the more information you have, the more knowledge you have, the more successful you can be. But yet, it's not brain surgery. Hell, it's not even electrician level if you think about it, right? You don't have to worry about getting shocked if you do something wrong. Or even killed. Maybe doing these videos, I can get better at talking and doing things at the same time. So, for me, the difference between reselling and a reselling business is reselling is what I was, say, the first, let's just call it 10, 13 years doing this. And that is the hunt, the finds, the setting things up, the evolving, the learning things, the doing different things, the having to go out daily to find tomorrow's dollar. That's reselling to me. Having to go out today to find tomorrow's dollar. And without tomorrow's dollar, you could wind up not paying a bill, whatever the case may be, right? To me, that's reselling. The progression of building. But then there are people who don't want to build, they just want to resell their whole life. They want every day to be stressed about tomorrow's dollar. Where am I going to get this? Where am I going to find? I got to go find this. I got to go find that item. All these high dollar items. I've got to find a source. That's reselling. When I started reselling. And then after a few years of seeing what I could get, what I could do, what I could have ties to, it turned my thinking that, okay, I don't want to be a reseller. I want to have a reselling business. Okay, I had the room for it, so I could do it. And you don't necessarily need the room right off the bat. You can grow into it. But I wanted a reselling business. All my life, I had fought for tomorrow. From starting at nothing to where I was when I started the business, when we started the business, those first many years of building the business was all fighting for tomorrow. So when I started seeing things like, well, actually even just a year into the business, because I was selling music and the music stores I worked at started closing. And then I started accumulating full stores of product and stuff. 10-cent CDs, I'm buying everything. Boom. So I started thinking bigger. I started thinking more than just, okay, let me go through here and cherry pick. Okay, that's tomorrow's money. Tomorrow I'll worry about the next day. I got out of that thinking real quick. And it could have had a lot to do with all the things that fell in my lap and or the knowledge base that I started with, because I started with what I loved, knew where I could get it, was at a time period in life where that was going away so I could benefit from it, stores closing. So I started building that thought base. Okay, I am just going to start building stacks of product, right? Whether I can list them now and sell them now, it doesn't matter. I started really living the you make the money when you buy lifestyle. A lot of resellers don't live by that motto, because you will pass up on something that may only be worth a little today, but may be worth a lot more in 5 years, 10 years from now. Like I pulled about 15 Nintendo 64 systems that I threw in storage 10, 12, 14 years ago because they weren't worth much at the time, and sold them all within a week and made good money. That is a reselling business. So I got the business idea so strong that I had people just out of the blue calling me. I have a shoe collection. You want to buy it? Yes. I have a toy collection. You want to buy it? Yes. I had a video game store that was up the street. I walked into one time. 2 weeks later, somehow, some way, he found me, called me, and said, I've got a video game store right up the street from you. You want to buy me out? Yes. So I was committed to building a business. And to build a business, you need merchandise. And to me, building a business, the difference between reselling and building a business is building a business is about consistency. And not just consistency listing, but consistent income. With a reseller, you may not necessarily know where your money's going to be next week. I can tell you right now exactly how much I'm going to make next week. Even with eBay up and down, there's still an average consistency to it. And by up and down, I mean this website working properly and not working properly. There is still a consistent and an average, if you will. I'm not even showing you guys the stuff. That was a Nike bag I sold for $12.50. Sorry about that. That's why I can't do more than one thing at one time. I don't even know what else I just shipped that I didn't show you. CDs. The bad thing about doing it the way I did it is you have to invest a lot of capital into doing so. That's why when other resellers say that I show you a way that other people can't or won't do it, they say can't, I say won't. Because you have to put how can I say this without trying to sound like cocky or egotistical? It's more confidence. You have to put your confidence into what you're doing. I feel like when you live from, let's just call it week to week, you may be confident, but you have limited confidence. Where I saw a bigger picture. I saw that if I can buy some things now, pull out what the worth now, and the bottom value dollar stuff, put away for future, I knew there was going to be more value in there. I've always said that the reselling business, 90 to 95% of the stuff you buy will go up in value over time. One way or another, whether that's up $1 or up $100. Reselling certain goods, obviously there's going to be exceptions like tie beanie babies, things like that. The majority is only going to go up in value. I'm selling like just something like simple CDs that 15 years ago they were selling for a penny a piece on Amazon. I can get $7 and $8 a piece for now. Thankfully, I got tons of that in storage because it was only worth a penny back in the day on Amazon, right? So you got to, in order to go graduate or to grow from a reseller to a reselling business, you've got to, I had a business plan without knowing what a business plan was. Oklahoma Sooners hat. Sold for $9.50, headed to Ray, Georgia. I had a business plan before I understood what a business plan was. I knew I could get the product. I knew how I was going to operate. I knew I was going to take on a lot of debt. But I had confidence and believed in what I was trying to build, that I would eventually come back around and be able, even though I had many years of stressful debt on my back and on my mind, and would keep me up at night and make me literally work 22 hours a day because I couldn't sleep because I was worried about it. I still had confidence that one day I'm going to reap the benefits of it. That I will be able to pay the debt off and be able to breathe. So I believe in order to build a reselling business, you have to have confidence in your game plan. You have to have I would tell you at the time, even though you may not believe it, or am I even going to believe it? Because it seems a little far-fetched. Not really, but even at the time, I believed what I said. You know, I would tell Jan, I'd be like, this stuff's going to be worth more later. This stuff's going to be worth more later. You make your money when you buy. I stood by the basic core of building a business. And I think that's what separates resellers from entrepreneurs. And I use that in the term of a broader sense. Is having the ability to have a plan, stick with it, no matter how much of a detriment it is at the time, with debt piling up, the stress of that. I still saw the end game, and I didn't back off. I mean, even if I had $50,000 in debt, I was still buying out stores. Had $75,000 in debt, I still went out and bought a $60,000 truck and would buy out stores. I still stuck with the game plan. Did I go too far? That's yet to be seen. Could I have stopped sooner and benefited earlier? Sure. Without a doubt. Lush CD, sold for $333, headed to Berkeley, California. But as you know, as a reseller, the adrenaline rush is when you buy. Looking for, finding, hunting, gathering. That's the fun. That's the adrenaline. So if you don't have a long-term game plan, that rush can drag you down and take you under real quick. Especially if you don't have the capital, you don't have the resources to keep it flowing. I mean, there was times I had cards probably at 20% interest, right? I was using, and I did it all. We did it all on personal. We didn't even have business loans. We were doing personal. Oh, let's open another card. Open another card. Open another card. Boom, boom. Buy this store. Buy that store. Circuit City bought. Mom and pop video game store bought. Chain CD stores. Warehouse Music bought. CD Warehouse bought. Local music stores. Local pop stores bought. People's Collections, shoes, bought. Toys, bought. And there's a hell of a lot I am forgetting because it's been a long ride. But I just kept piling on the stuff. Filling lockers, filling bedrooms, filling garage, filling rooms down here before I had this much stuff listed. That entire east wing was literally stuff that needed to be listed. Wall to wall, floor to ceiling, piled. I probably donated and given away more stuff out of that room when I had to clean it out than you've sold since you've been selling on eBay. That's how much stuff I had. So at the time, and then, Goodwill, when they first opened up, daily, fill of the truck, daily, for weeks on end, probably a year on end. Nike hat sold for $950, headed to Valley, Washington. Because I knew you make the money when you buy. And I knew my long-term game plan. So what's the difference between a reseller and building a reselling business? Or we can throw include in there, or being a hoarder. The difference is I don't have to worry about tomorrow's dollar. I don't have to worry about next week's dollar. I don't even have to worry about next year's dollar. Because I have a business. I don't have to source for 2 years easily and still know, probably more than 2 years, to be honest with you, probably 5 to 10 years. I don't have to source for 5 to 10 more years if I didn't want to, and still know I can put $100,000 in my pocket every year. Profit, personal, income, my earnings. So when I started, I put myself, we were with the $60,000 truck. I think it was like we were like $150,000 in debt, with business debt. Following my idea, Jan followed. She believed in my end game, even though literally almost would tear this marriage apart toward the end of that, just because the mounting debt and the stress was getting so overwhelming that, people, that's what happens when you watch these like restaurant shows and the business is in debt and the wife and the husband are just falling apart. That's where it was getting to. That's when I said, okay, the time has stopped. Let's turn it and let's start the business part of this. We did the reselling part. Now let's start the business. So then I started the years of building the business. Um, 97X Green Room CD sold for $6 headed to Nashville. A reseller is not necessarily going to have next week's payroll, next month's payroll, next year's payroll. A reselling business, I've got payroll for the next 10 years. That's the difference between a reselling business and the difference between a hoarder. A hoarder's got stuff for the next 10 years. I've got $100,000 in my pocket for the next 10 years. So when people show their ignorance and try to put down what I've built this. Jan and I built this. We went through the tough. We went through the stress, the debt, the pains that it takes to build a business. Businesses are not built overnight, and they are not easy to do. So I take it very personal when somebody tries to say either I'm a hoarder or I'm doing it wrong or I'm not doing it the right way. No. I've got something that you can't have. I've got something that those people, not you, but those people with no drive, no ambition, no opened mind can ever do because they limit themselves. Can a reseller go take a month off? You know what? I'm not going to do nothing for the next month except ship what sells. Even if I did that for the next month and took a month off, I'm still putting $100,000 in my pocket at the end of the year. A reseller can go broke and out of business in that time. And I hope I'm not coming across wrong with this because I just take it personal, because I built something. Something I did. The person who thought their whole life was going to be a failure actually freaking built something that worked and had someone to believe in me. And here I was coming from nothing, eating bologna sandwiches with not even $1 to my name. Went from that to $150,000 in debt. But loving every minute of it, even with the stress, to sitting here today with a legitimate business. And I will say a successful business. Why will I say successful? Because I got constant income that I don't have to worry about. That's success to me. I can sleep peaceful at night. That's success to me. I don't have to go out and look for tomorrow's money. That's success to me. The beauty also with a business and being built is you have options. One, If I called it quits today, I could sell everything off, make a good money, throw it in a pocket, and walk away. 2, I could go today, find a warehouse, hire 3 people, turn this into a $1.2, $1.5 million business per year easily by the end of 2024. That's option 2. Or option 3, I can slow down, I can relax, and I can just enjoy what I've done. And that's what I do. I am option 3. I don't need to fight for tomorrow's money. I don't need to go out and build it bigger than what it is. Because then you're putting yourself back into the fight, right? You're going to go through all that stuff in a year and a half. Guess what? You got to keep 3 people and their families fed. I don't need that fight no more. I've been there. I've done that. I get to, at 52 years old, look back at my life of coming from nothing, literally digging in dumpsters to get money for food and clothes, new clothes. To peacefully sleeping at night, not worrying about tomorrow's dollar, not worrying about next month's dollar, not worrying about next year's dollar. And drive a frickin' Porsche. That's what I built. That's what we built. I say I a lot in this statement, in this situation, this story, because it was my ideas. It was my idea. Jan helped. If it wasn't for Jan, it wouldn't happen. 100%. But it was my ideas that was grown into something. And I take pride in that. Because, like I said, I was somebody who couldn't figure out what I was doing until the age of 30. I thought I was just going to be a homeless bum by the time I'm 50. Literally, I swear. I thought I was just going to be homeless. What's going to happen when my parents die? When I need them and I have nowhere to bounce back to because I failed again. That's where my head was. So when somebody comes at me about the way I have done things, I take it personal. I don't let it bother me anymore because I understand the ignorance of... I understand ignorance is a lack of information. And many people like to show their ignorance, if you will. 3 doors down, sold for $350, headed to Brockton, Massachusetts. So I think you have to decide if you want to be a reseller the rest of your life or if you want to have a business. Because there's 2 different ways of going about it. And on my videos, I try to share with you the way I have done it, the hardships that come with it, the struggles that come with it. And then try to show you the tools that will help you. Why is this not printing? That might help you avoid mistakes that I made or find a different route than I took so it doesn't bring on that stress or that debt and what have you. So I think that's what I try to portray. LaBouche cassette sold for $333, headed to El Monte, California. So that's why I think when people view my videos and they have negative things to say about it, or say I come across a certain way, or I'm doing it wrong, or I'm pushing my way as if it's the only way. Hell to the no. I am showing you what I've done. I'm trying to educate you on where I've been. All the while enjoying every day. Because we, as a family, went through a lot to be in this position. And this position I've been in for the last year and a half, 2 years, actually more than that now. Yeah, definitely more than that. My dad's been gone. Yeah, so it feels good, you know. It feels something that I've never thought I would feel in my life. Prince cassette sold for $6, headed to Bennettsville, South Carolina. There were times in this relationship with Jan when we're at $150,000 debt. Or even 130, 120 even, maybe, probably, where she started doubting, and it literally almost separated us. And my comments to her at that time was, you can get out from under it if you want. If you don't trust me, you don't believe in me anymore, it's too stressful, you can have everything. Just give me I'll take the debt and the business. You can have everything else. You can have the cars, you can have the house. I don't want half. I don't want half of nothing. I'll take my $150,000 debt, and I'll take the product. That's how much I believed in what I was building. That I would start over in the hole, basically, by myself alone, in the hole. I'm just thankful it worked. Because I don't know where I would have been if my normal sense of my outcome failure would have come to fruition, you know. I believed in what I was doing for the first time in my life, building this, even with pounds and pounds of pressure of stress and debt. I still believed. I never faltered from that belief of what I wanted today, 2023, to be like. So I don't need to turn this into $1 million business. I don't need to turn this into a $2 million business. All I need to do is sell stuff that I already have. Smile every day and sleep peaceful every night. That's all I need. Doyle Baramo cassette, sold for $333, headed to Combine, Texas. Last cassette, let's use this. Ron John Surf Shop Pat, sold for $950, headed to Hudsonville, Michigan. That to me is the difference between a hoarder, a reseller, and a reselling business. And being I am totally open-minded, I could be wrong. This is my point of view with the knowledge I have in my head at this time. Sure, there could be other points, other information added. But me at this time, at this point, with this knowledge, with this experience, that is where I am at today. And let me tell you how much fun it was buying this much inventory. Good Lord, did I have a blast. We had a blast. We traveled everywhere. Literally, before it was a thing on YouTube, we were hitting bins in Arizona. We were hitting bins in Indiana. I don't know where else I've been. I bought CD warehouses stores that closed in Oklahoma. I've bought a toy lot in Arizona. What have I done? Where have I traveled to? The things that we've done, the things that I've been able to buy and see and do and be a part of. That right there, all those memories, even memories that I'm totally spacing out on most of the day. And then every time I see something, maybe it'll jot back a memory about where I bought this item or the story behind this item and where I traveled to get it or whatever the case may be. All of those memories and those adventures and those stories and those experiences, that's all just extra added bonus today. I wish there were smartphones back then. Smartphones didn't come around till very late after that. So I could have documented it all better than just mentally. All right, Hard House Diva CD headed to England, sold for $10.50. If I had this camera and was able to document on YouTube, and I probably could, I just didn't know about it at the whole time, you know. I started YouTube in 2009. A lot of the big purchases were done before 2009. And plus, it wasn't on a phone. I had a video camera, so I didn't carry that everywhere. But I could just imagine the size of this channel had I been able to document everything that I've done to build what I've built. all you're seeing is the end result. And I use end very loosely because it's never the end till I'm dead. But you missed all the fun stuff. And I wish there was a way I could recreate it or bring it back so not only I could relive it, so you guys could see it. I had I even had at a time, and I just remember this popped in my head. We would go to Destin, Florida constantly. We got married there. So we would go there every year for a few years or so. And I would always go to this one music store and just look for CDs for myself, for my collection, and to resell. And of course, I've always been the type I was always open with what I do. I'm a reseller online. If you got stuff in back you don't want, send it my way. I got more of that than people looking down upon me because I was a reseller. So I always made sure I let people know I was a reseller. But there was a music store, and it may still be there, in Florida that I'd always go into, and he actually ended up calling me and asked me if I wanted to buy his store. And I turned it down at the time because he had a big store and a lot of stuff. So I would have either had to leave the location open, or it would have took a hell of a lot of money to truck it all back here and store it. So I had to turn it down. But Jesus Christ Superstar Disc 2 CD, headed to Mexico, sold for $3. If I had to sit and think about I told Jan yesterday, one of the biggest memories that stands out the most to me and it's not what I bought there, because I think I only bought like some video game stuff and like at the time, but was walking through a flea market in the middle of summer in Tennessee with just mountains and trees all around you, and this cool, it didn't feel wide open flea market, right? Just this cool, like old rustic flea market. I told her yesterday, I'm like, when we have no more puppies, I want to go to some flea markets in Tennessee. That's what my biggest memory, like my happy place, I guess you could say. But there's been so many adventures and stresses and fun that has come along with where I am today. And I think when my boring reseller life popped into my head, and I just took to it so quickly, that name of this channel, because what I am doing right now is boring as hell compared to how I got here. You see channels today growing huge on YouTube, doing the stuff that I did before YouTube. So now I'm just trying to figure out how to grow my YouTube with the end game. That's not easy to do. Richard Cap vinyl, headed to Australia, sold for $9. It's not easy to do. But I will say this. As I am figuring out this YouTube world, and knowing what I have done and what I can do, I will tell you that once I am able to travel again and to buy and to hunt, I will. And I will bring the camera. And I will find a way to make it work. Even if that is, I go on this trip, I buy out this store, I do this, I do that, and it cost me, I don't know, $3,000, $5,000. And if I'm able to make that on YouTube revenue alone, then I don't need to keep that merchandise. Guess what? I get to pass that on to other resellers and help them grow. Because if I can buy something for $1,000, make $1,000 on the video, I've got no money into this stuff. I could move it, sell it for pennies on the dollar to help others out. So that's kind of where my head is going for the future. Whether it gets there or not, how it gets there or not, I don't know, because I'm not going to jeopardize what I built to get there, if that makes sense. I'm not going, that's why when I was doing the videos of like one box at a time, what I found, okay, that video paid for what's ever in this box now. Guess what? This is just all profit now. I made the money back just making a YouTube video. If I can grow that on here, and if you guys can help me by liking and subscribing and commenting and all that stuff, then my future could not only be in enjoying what I've built, but also enjoying what I'm helping others build. And I've always, even in my worst situations, I was yelled at many times when the business was $120,000 in debt, $130,000 in debt, for giving too much to others. By Jan, you gotta think about us. Stop. I don't need to donate this. I don't need to help this. I don't need to give. But we did. So that at the core is who I am, because I know where I came from and how hard it was for me to get here today. That even in our worst time, we were still helping others over ourselves. It would be awesome to get back to that and to be able to do it in a way that's not a detriment to our own life. So that, I think that's where the future I'm trying to go to. Whether it works or not, all depends on the quality of videos I can make living my boring reselling life. So that's why I'm always brainstorming on here, or trying to use this idea for a thumbnail, because I'm trying to grow it to be something bigger than what it is, but not for my own monetary gain necessarily. Yes, to help still make my life as comfortable as it is, but to be able to do something bigger. So we'll see if I get there or not. I don't know. We'll see. It's all in the algorithm's hands now. Now, actually, it's all in my thumbnail's hands. the quality of the videos hands, the content of the videos hands. So I'm working with very little because, like I said, I'm in the boring stage of what I've built. You've missed all the exciting stuff. So I feel like I'm coming in late to the game, late to the ball, starting behind the 8 ball, whatever terms you want to use. So, but it's all being built on you guys' views and your likes, your comments. So I do appreciate it all. So, well, thanks everybody for listening and stuff. So, yeah, that's why I figured maybe if I find a topic to talk about with my shipping videos, maybe that'll draw more interest in. So that's what I just did with Monday mornings first. So, all right, I'm off to the post office, everybody. It's at 10:35, and I'm at $164. So still the low ends of the day, but we'll see where it goes. So, thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Later.